Good afternoon. I am Debbie McKeever, founder and owner of Strong and Healthy Temple, a virtual holistic health and wellness coaching practice servicing clients worldwide. It is a lovely and sunny day today, and all of the creatures of nature are out here with me today making noises. I wanted to talk to you today about what is probably my favorite topic, and if you've watched my YouTube videos, you probably already know what that topic is, but for those of you, maybe this is your first time watching my videos, I wanted to talk today about mindset. I have a personal belief that having the right mindset is the foundation for everything. When you get your mind right, everything else falls into place, whether it be money, weight loss, relationships, business success. No matter what it is, the root of the problem or the root of the success always starts in the mind. And I'll talk about relationships. I had recently saw something on social media. I was looking at Tiffany Haddish, and she was talking about how she had gone back to her toxic ex-husband on numerous occasions before she finally broke that cycle, and that's because her mind was not right around the topic of love, or what it felt like to truly be loved, or be loved by someone, or most importantly, loving yourself, because of course, if you don't love yourself first, nobody else can really give you what you haven't given to yourself. And she had to figure that out, unfortunately the hard way, and she was trying to encourage others to break that cycle, because of course now she's in a beautiful relationship with the rapper Common. But before then, she was in a very toxic and tumultuous relationship that like I said, she kept going back into that relationship before she broke the cycle, because her mindset wasn't right, and it had to do with her upbringing. She had been in foster care and had suffered like abusive type situations and sexual abuse and things like that. And so until she got her mind right, she wasn't able to receive the type of love that she deserved. And money is another one. You've read about and you've seen these people, even some of the celebrities talk about how they gain these great fortunes, and you see people that gain it and then they lose it all, and that's because their mind is not right around money. Until you get your mind right around money and finances, and how to properly save and invest, and whatever your beliefs are about money, until you deal with the root of the problem, which is the way that you think about money, then you're probably not going to successfully be able to hold on to it. And people have all kinds of beliefs about money, according to whatever their upbringing was, or whatever their minds have been programmed to believe about money. Same thing with weight loss. Like people have different issues around weight loss. Like, even if you can get the right will and determination, and you've seen people who've gotten in the best shape of their life, only to lose all of their results and gain all the weight back. And in some cases, some people have gained even more weight back. And if you've ever talked to a person who that has happened to, or you heard about it, it usually has something to do with some type of trauma, something dealing with the mind, and their mindset around weight. So having willpower and determination and momentum a lot of times is enough to get you started, but it's not always necessarily enough to help you maintain the results. And again, that's with anything. You may start a business venture or some other kind of venture, and at first you're kind of pumped up on momentum, and you're raring to go, and then once you start to lose that momentum, if in the back of your mind you still see yourself as a failure or as an imposter. Like you hear a lot of people talk about having imposter syndrome, where they feel like a fraud. As long as in your mind you see yourself as a fraud, then you're probably not going to be able to hold on to that success. So again, it has a lot to do with the mind, and a lot of it again is just upbringing. Like maybe when you were growing up, you were listening to your parents tell you about things that they couldn't afford, or getting on your case for asking for too much or being too greedy or whatever. So then you kind of develop like this mismatched relationship, not only with people and having problems asking for things or receiving things, but even like your relationship to the divine. Like you've heard of these people who will say things like, well, God, if you just give me this one big thing, I'll never ask for anything else. Well, all that is because in your mind, you were conditioned to believe that you're not supposed to ask for much, that you're only supposed to ask for one thing or small things. So then you feel bad about asking God, who's capable of everything. You're afraid to ask God for big things, and you're afraid to dream big, and that's because your mind has been conditioned to believe that you're supposed to believe small or ask for small things or not be too greedy, or you're thinking about, well, maybe God can't afford it, and I know that probably sounds kind of funny, but it you've been programmed from a child, and I know that your parents meant well because maybe they just really didn't have enough money to buy that. But sometimes we just have to learn how to reframe our words around it, when we're training our kids, like, well, at this time, that's not in the fund budget, or whatever you can think of to avoid saying things like, you can't afford it, or discouraging your children to ask for things, because then you get kind of conditioned not to be able to receive from people. Or if you've experienced I'll go back to relationships, if your parents may have had a bad marriage, and so that's what you're used to. You saw them argue all the time in front of you, so maybe you become argumentative with your partner, and so then you sabotage all of your relationships in that manner. And so you never really dealt with the root of the problem, and you never really got healing in the area of relationships. So whenever you need healing in any aspect of anything, it starts in the mind first. You have to change your thinking around it. I recently did an article with Blackwash Blog online magazine that I'm contributing writer for, and I talked about Moses. And like I said in the article, it doesn't matter if you see the Bible as literal or if you see it as an analogy, esoterical, whatever. It still kind of sets you up to see that just a shift in mindset can completely change events. When God first asked Moses to go out and speak to the Israelites, the first thing that he did was he started complaining about his speech impediment. He didn't really feel like he was worthy and that anyone would listen to him because he was slow in speech. But as he was encouraged by God, he changed his mindset, and then he saw himself as the deliverer. And as a result of him changing his mind about who he was able to actually lead the children of Israel out of the bondage of slavery of Egypt onto their destiny into the promised land. Of course, Joshua in that story. Joshua was the one that ended up, leading them all the way in, but, Moses was the one who led them out of bondage. But it wasn't until after he changed his mind about who he was, and that's what we have to do. We have to change our minds about who we are first. You have to change your mind and see yourself as a person who is deserving of a good relationship. You have to change your mind and see yourself as a person who is deserving to be wealthy and to have everything you want, not just good health and not just happiness, but also all the material wealth and all the material things that you desire. You deserve those things. You deserve to have anything that you desire, because ultimately all those desires come from God. So you have to change your mind about that first. You have to change your mind about how you see yourself in business. You have to believe that you deserve, high paying clients, and not, price your offerings based on what you believe someone can afford. If someone can't afford it, then maybe that's not the right client, or maybe they'll be able to afford it at another time, but it doesn't mean that you need to change your pricing. Again, going back to scripture, I talked about in that article, and I'll actually post the article here in the comments here so that you can read that in its entirety. But, it's like it says in the book of Joel, let the weak say, I am strong. Don't say I am weak. And in the book of Romans, where it talks about calling those things that be not as though they were, go ahead and call it into existence. And part of calling it into existence is believing that it exists right now, not that it's going to exist in the future. Get into the feeling and the habit that it already exists. If you believe that you're rich, then go ahead and begin to feel rich. Go ahead and begin to act rich. And I'm not talking about faking it until you make it. Like Bill Winston always says, faith it until you make it. Act rich, dress nice, go to that shop where you can't afford things, and don't go out and get a credit card and put it on a credit card and know that you can't pay for it. But like window shop, envision for it. Make space in your home for, you might see a very expensive vase or something like that you want. Well, make space for it in a corner and believe that it's already there. See it there, in the eye of your imagination. Already see it there and act like it's there, and feel like you are what you want to be, and feel like you have what you want to have. Just go ahead and play the part. And part of that, the biggest part of that, again, is changing your mind around it. Changing your mindset about it, changing your mind about who you are and what you can have and what you can look like. If it's weight loss, then go ahead and envision that dream body. Like, I'm not saying, go out and wear a bikini if you're not comfortable with your body, but, go ahead and buy the bikini in the size that you see yourself in, and just envision yourself in it mentally first, because once you get your mind right and you lose that weight, then you're not going to regress and gain the weight back, because you got your mind right first, and then you got the momentum, and then you got the willpower, and then you got the determination. And again, that's with anything that you get your mind right about, that's when you get lasting results. And just like the Bible says, let the weak say I'm strong, it's the same principle. If you're poor, say you're rich. Don't say that you're poor. Don't say that you're broke. Don't say that you're struggling. Say what you desire, and don't put it off into the future tense and say I'm going to be rich. Say I am rich. Even if you don't believe it at first, convince yourself, reprogram your mind, brainwash yourself. So anyway, as always, keeping this brief. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. I would love it if you would subscribe to the videos. If you do decide to subscribe, hit the bell icon to receive notifications for when I release new videos. Thank you for watching, and make it a fantastic day.